but he's 6'7". We'll cover for him in transition with all of our other fast guys, you know? So this is an important message for club and high school coaches to tell.
Does the same apply to women?
Yeah, I would say. I don't coach the women, but yes. Yeah, I mean, I think it applies to any sport and any gender. Yes.
So I'm only 5'7", which is on the shorter end, and I'm a goalie. But with one of the teams that I played on, the other goalie was 6'1", wings like, you know, an albatross. And she was not the starting goalie. I was the starting goalie because I made up for that lack in size with other things.
Sure.
With right, more of a drive, more of a willingness to get hit in the head.
Positioning,
Yeah.
reading the play, communication, passing, actually getting your hand on the ball when it matters, right? You can be 6'7" and miss the ball. You're out. You know, Garrett Danner was a fantastic goalie for UCLA. He was 6 feet, 6'1". He was phenomenal. Jesus Royale is one of the best goalies in the history of the game. He was not tall. He made up for it though in a lot of different areas. So yes, thank you. You're a great example of that. Okay, so physical factors. Intangibles, all right? So intangibles can make up for lacking in some physical factors. So the most important one, I think, is competitive drive. And when we ask our recruits questions, and one of them is, what do you like the least about water polo? You know, just to we're trying to get to know our recruits as best we can. And the answer we're really pleased to hear is losing the most. You know, sometimes people say swimming. Oh, that's great. Referees, sometimes. But the answer that we're really looking for when we ask this question is losing, because, you know, a hatred of losing can get you past a lot of other challenges that you might face. Size. I mean, if you're just a person who will do anything, you'll outwork a bigger guy, you'll outswim, you'll outgrind. That can make up for a lot of deficiencies, including not even being a great shooter, for example. But if you have that drive, then you can exist, and that there's sometimes room for all of that stuff. Also, being highly intelligent in terms of water polo IQ can keep you out of trouble too. So like just always knowing how to stay out of trouble if you're smaller. Big guys want to post you up and you're able to switch off, or you can survive the post up without getting excluded or scored on every time. Just being a smart player can help too. All right. Exposure. All right. Players need to make an effort to be seen. This takes work, and sometimes, unfortunately, it takes money. But it shows a college coach that you're willing to do more, right? That you are willing to put yourself out there, that you're willing to have the experience of having coaches other than your club coach or your high school coach. And so you're willing to go further to get better, willing to get outside your comfort zone. And so then we have this ODP debate, the eternal ODP debate, right? Should we do it? Should we not? It's a money grab by USA Water Polo, et cetera, et cetera. And my answer is yes, you should do it, especially if you're from a smaller market. So I consider Oregon a smaller market, no offense. I consider Texas a smaller market, Chicago. These ODP tournaments are bringing you to California, and you're playing against better players, you're playing against better competition. If I'm looking at a highlight tape of Ashland High School against like some junior high team, because those are the only, I need to see players performing against higher level competition. Some highlight tapes that I get are like, okay, I can tell you're playing against a weak team and you're twirling the ball on your finger and doing this and that. It's like, that's not good. So exposure to better competition, better players, kind of taking your lumps is important. So I do promote players, especially from small markets, doing ODP. So, but there's other things that have come out lately. Sometimes teams in smaller markets aren't going to JOs, for example. So can you find another team to go to JOs with? That can be helpful. Can you go and train with a club in another state during the summer, maybe? Say, hey, can I go join San Diego Shore's B team just because my team isn't training that much? Can you gain some exposure? I don't mean to promote breaking up your teams or anything like that. But if there is a situation where you don't have enough players and somebody isn't going to be able to play and they want that extra, that they can go and contact a club somewhere else that might have room for them. College coaches need multiple opportunities to see players, not just JOs. So the more opportunity that your players have to show themselves to college coaches, the better. And you guys as coaches, if you're coaching club, I heard one of you talking about a little tour you went on down and played against San Diego, right?
Yes.
So taking your team on tour is also always a good thing. Just getting down there and going against stronger opponents is always a good option. We had a team from, you guys know Tim from Chicago. He's brought his team out to Davis every summer to train for a week with the Davis Water Polo Club, so that's always an option. But exposure is important. Differentiation, so this gets into that group of right-handed drivers, right? So how do you separate yourself from the pack? How do you separate yourself from all of these right-handed drivers or all, other players? How do you do that? Is it intangibles? Is it your size? Is it your speed? What is it? Is it really strong references from a trusted coach? That can be helpful from a trusted coach, okay? Because quite honestly, a lot of club coaches are trying to sell their players to college coaches because it looks good that they have put these players in college programs and they can always say, hey, look, we're putting guys at UC Davis or we got guys at SC, look at this, right? And then that can help them to bring other players and then they get into that whole thing about switching clubs and stuff like that, which is not fun. But if there's a relationship, if there's a history of, okay, this particular program has produced players that are performing well at the next level, they're prepared for the next level, for the things that are required at the next level, not for the things that are required necessarily in club or high school, because there's a big jump between club and high school and Division I athletics. Bigger than most kids think. They're like, yeah, I got this. And right about like 1.5 years in, they're like, oh my God, right? 2 years.
Or the first week of practice.
The first week they've got that like exuberance, that energy. They're playing free. They haven't been given feedback yet.
Okay.
Summary feedback.
You haven't told them they're probably going to quit next week.
The other thing is performing well when you ask a coach to come and watch. I would suggest that you tell your kids, look, if you're going to reach out to this coach and ask him to come and watch, that you better be visible, because I can't tell you the number of times that people have repeatedly asked me to come and watch them, and I'm not alone. And I don't even see the guy during the game. I see some other guy that I like, So it's important to perform well when the critic is there, right? That's important. Flyers. Okay, so we need flyers. A flyer is a player, a diamond in the rough, a player that's under the radar that nobody knows about. You're going to take a chance on a guy because you have a certain feeling about him, or a girl because you have a certain feeling about them. Maybe they possess some particular skill that you like, and you think, okay, we can develop the other skills. Maybe they played baseball instead of swam, but they have a rocket of an arm, and they can learn to swim, right? Once they get it. Maybe they're a great athlete, but they haven't had a lot of good developmental coaching or something like that. So we need to take players like that. We want to. I like developing players. I'm proud of the development of players that we've had. We've had players from all over the country, from Ann Arbor, Michigan, Holden Tamblin. He did fantastic. R.J. Quigley from Greenwich helped us win a WWPA championship. We've had players from other states that I can't name all of them now. A player from Park City, Utah, Matt Whipple. So we are looking for players from out of state. We need to, because we know that the schools that are perennially above us are able to pluck whatever recruits they want from the quote-unquote pool of best players. And I say quote-unquote because they pick these guys and then half of them disappear, right? And some guy from Oregon like Mitch Wise or Dreesen Berry really develops well at the next level, right? And so we need to try to find people like that, and that's kind of the fun part of recruiting. However, when you have a roster limit, it can limit the number of people like that you can take. So your players need to understand that. Like, they need to ask the coach, do you have a roster limit? How much space do you have? How many people are graduating? They should be ready to ask pointed questions, and I'll get to that later. And you can help them with that. So I guess, and then here we go, right? Grades. So grades matter a lot. Grades matter a lot. I cannot stress to you enough to stress this to your players. Grades will open up, will keep more options open. Good grades will keep more options open for your players than if they have lower grades. If they have lower grades, then they end up in a certain section of universities that is smaller, that doesn't include the UCs, that have a higher tolerance for lower GPAs. That's a very confusing way to say it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, for example, at UC Davis, 3.0 or better is the 3.0 is the limit. Now, that's pretty low actually for being able to help someone through athletics get into school. Out of state, it's 3.4. Okay. So we're looking for players with higher GPAs because it also bodes well for their academic performance once they get to college. Okay, and we want that because we don't want people with academic problems necessarily. Too many. We understand on a roster of 25 players, we're going to have varying degrees of academic prowess, right? But, you know, it's just shows that they're taking their studies seriously for the most part, right? When they're in high school, and that's a good sign for when they're in college. So grades
Shows that
matter.
They can balance.
They can
those
balance
different
the two,
parts of their
yes.
lives.
Yes. UC Davis is on the quarter system, so it's 10 weeks. We're not a semester school. The only semester school is Cal. So it's not 16 weeks, it's 10 weeks. So on a semester school, you don't even have to